If you've ever gone a little too long without water, you might recognize the pattern. Your head starts to throb, your focus drops, and everything feels louder and more annoying. The big question is why dehydration so often shows up as a headache. It's not just you need water. It's a chain reaction involving blood volume, brain chemistry, and pain-sensitive tissues in your head and neck. And the tricky part is that dehydration headaches can feel like tension headaches, migraines, or even sinus pressure. So it's easy to misread what's happening. In this breakdown, you'll learn the main mechanisms that connect low fluid levels to head pain, the common triggers that make it worse, and the red flags that mean it might not be dehydration at all. Once you understand the cause, you can respond faster and avoid repeating the same cycle. Let's start with the most basic piece: what dehydration actually changes inside your body. Moving to slide 2. Dehydration means your body has less water than it needs to run normal functions. That can happen from not drinking enough, but also from sweating, diarrhea, vomiting, fever, or even breathing very dry air for hours. What matters is the balance between fluid going out and fluid coming in. When you lose water, you also lose electrolytes, especially sodium and potassium, which help control nerve signals and muscle function. Your body tries to protect the most important organs first, like the brain and heart, by shifting fluids around. But that compensation has limits. Even mild dehydration can affect how you think, how you tolerate stress, and how sensitive you are to pain. For some people, the headache is one of the earliest warning signs. For others, it shows up later, after fatigue and irritability. So dehydration isn't a single switch. It's a sliding scale that changes circulation, hormones, and the way pain pathways fire. Moving to slide 3. One of the strongest links between dehydration and headaches is reduced blood volume. When you're low on fluids, there's simply less liquid in circulation that can lower blood pressure and reduce steady blood flow to the brain. Your body responds by tightening blood vessels and increasing heart rate to keep blood moving. Those vessel changes can activate pain-sensitive nerves, especially in the head and neck. Some people feel this as a dull, tight ache. Others feel pulsing. And if you stand up quickly and get lightheaded, that's a clue your circulation is struggling. This doesn't mean your brain is running out of blood in a dramatic way. It means the system is working harder to keep things stable, and that strain can show up as head pain. Add heat, exercise, or alcohol, anything that increases fluid loss, and the blood volume effect becomes more noticeable. This is one reason dehydration headaches can come with fatigue and brain fog. Moving to slide 4. Another mechanism is electrolyte imbalance. Water doesn't work alone. Sodium helps regulate fluid balance and supports nerve signaling. Potassium helps with muscle and nerve function. When you sweat heavily or lose fluids through illness, electrolytes can shift. That shift can make nerves more irritable and muscles more prone to tightness. In the head and neck, that can feel like tension building behind the eyes, at the temples, or at the base of the skull. Electrolyte changes can also affect how your body handles blood vessel tone, which matters for headache sensitivity. This is why chugging plain water after major sweating doesn't always fix the problem quickly. It can help, but if electrolytes are low, symptoms may linger. On the other hand, too much sodium without enough water can also worsen dehydration. The key idea is balance. Dehydration headaches aren't always just low water. Sometimes they're low water plus off-balance minerals. Moving to slide 5. People often say dehydration makes the brain shrink, and there's a real concept behind that, but it needs careful wording. When your body water is low, the tissues around the brain can lose a bit of fluid. That can slightly change how the brain and its surrounding layers sit inside the skull. The meninges, thin layers around the brain, are rich in pain-sensitive nerves. If those tissues are under different tension, your brain's pain system may interpret it as a headache. This can feel like a generalized pressure or a deep ache. It's not that your brain is damaged from one dry afternoon. It's more like the environment around it becomes less cushioned. That's also why dehydration headaches can worsen with movement, bending, or sudden posture changes. The mechanical sensitivity goes up. This mechanism helps explain why some dehydration headaches feel different from a typical stress headache. It's more internal pressure than muscle tightness. Moving to slide 6. Dehydration also pushes your body into a stress response. When fluid levels drop, hormones like vasopressin and stress-related signals increase to conserve water and maintain blood pressure. That hormonal shift can affect blood vessel behavior and how your nervous system processes pain. At the same time, dehydration can reduce your ability to regulate temperature. If you're warm and dehydrated, your body works harder to cool itself, and that adds strain. Many people notice a headache after being in the sun, in a hot room, or after a workout, especially if they didn't replace fluids. Heat expands blood vessels in the skin, sweating increases losses, and the brain can become more sensitive to changes in circulation. So the headache isn't only about thirst. It's also about the body running a high-alert program. If you're already stressed, underslept, or anxious, that high-alert state can amplify pain signals even more. Moving to slide 7. A sneaky contributor is muscle tension. When you're dehydrated, muscles can fatigue faster and cramp more easily. Even mild dehydration can make your posture worse because you feel tired, you slump, and you unconsciously tighten your jaw or shoulders. That tension can irritate nerves in the neck and scalp and trigger a headache pattern that feels like a tight band or pressure behind the eyes. If you've been staring at a screen, driving, or doing physical work, dehydration can make the same posture load feel heavier. Another piece is breathing. When you're dehydrated, your mouth and throat can feel dry, and some people breathe more through the mouth, especially during exercise. That can change neck and jaw muscle activity and add to the tension loop. So sometimes the dehydration headache is partly indirect. Dehydration sets the stage, and muscle tension delivers the pain. This is why hydration and small posture breaks often work better together than either one alone. Moving to slide 8. Dehydration can also interact with migraine biology. Not everyone gets migraines, but if you do, dehydration is a common trigger. Migraines involve a sensitive nervous system and changes in brain signaling, including pathways that control pain and blood vessels. When you're dehydrated, the shifts in circulation, stress hormones, and electrolytes can lower your threshold. That means a trigger that might not bother you on a well-hydrated day, like bright light, skipped meals, or poor sleep, can suddenly tip you into a migraine. Some people notice thirst, frequent yawning, or brain fog before the headache phase. Those early signs can overlap with dehydration itself, which makes it confusing. The key point is that dehydration doesn't cause migraine in a simple way. It makes the system more excitable. If you're migraine-prone, consistent hydration is less about comfort and more about keeping your baseline stable, so you're harder to trigger. Moving to slide 9. Another common pairing is dehydration and low blood sugar. If you're busy, traveling, or exercising, you might drink less and also eat less. Skipping meals can cause a drop in blood glucose, and that alone can trigger headaches in some people. Combine that with dehydration, and the brain has two stressors at once: less steady fuel and less stable circulation. Caffeine makes this even more complicated. For regular caffeine users, missing your usual coffee can cause withdrawal headaches. But too much caffeine without enough water can also worsen dehydration, especially if it replaces fluids and suppresses appetite. Alcohol is similar. It increases fluid loss and can disrupt sleep, which also increases headache risk. So when someone says, "I was dehydrated and got a headache," it's often a cluster. Less water, less food, more caffeine or alcohol, and worse sleep. Untangling the cluster helps you prevent the next one. Moving to slide 10. It helps to know what a dehydration headache typically feels like, even though there's overlap. Many people describe a dull ache on both sides of the head, sometimes with a heavy or pressured feeling. It can worsen with physical activity, quick movements, or bending over. You might also notice dry mouth, darker urine, fatigue, or lightheadedness. But here's the catch. Sinus headaches, tension headaches, and migraines can share some of these features. Sinus-related pain often comes with congestion and facial tenderness. Tension headaches often come with neck tightness and a band-like pressure. Migraines often include nausea, light sensitivity, or one-sided throbbing. They're not always. So instead of trying to label it perfectly, look for the pattern. Did you sweat a lot, drink less, travel, or have stomach illness? Did symptoms improve after gradual rehydration and rest? Patterns are more reliable than one sensation. Moving to slide 11. Now let's talk about why some people get dehydration headaches faster than others. Body size matters, because smaller bodies have less total water reserve. Heat and humidity matter, because you sweat more. Fitness level matters, because trained athletes can sweat earlier and more efficiently, which is great for cooling, but increases fluid needs. Certain medications can increase urination or dry you out, and some health conditions affect fluid balance. Age matters too. Older adults often have a reduced thirst signal, so they don't feel thirsty until they're already behind. And children can dehydrate faster because of their size and activity levels. Even your diet plays a role. High-salt meals can increase thirst, and very high-protein or very high-fiber diets can increase water needs for digestion. None of this means you need to obsess over ounces. It means your headache threshold depends on your context. The goal is to notice your personal risk moments. Moving to slide 12. If you suspect dehydration is part of your headache, the safest general approach is gradual rehydration and reducing additional strain. Sip water over time rather than forcing a huge amount at once, especially if you feel nauseated. If you've been sweating heavily, consider fluids that also replace electrolytes, because water alone may not fully restore balance quickly. Rest in a cooler environment if heat played a role, and give your neck and jaw a chance to relax. Also check the basics. Did you skip food, overdo caffeine, or sleep poorly? Fixing the stack often helps more than focusing on one factor. Pay attention to how fast symptoms change. Many dehydration-related symptoms improve within a few hours of steady fluids and rest, though not always instantly. If the headache is severe, sudden, or unusual for you, don't assume it's dehydration. That's when you shift from self-check to medical guidance. Moving to slide 13. It's important to know the warning signs that suggest something more serious than dehydration. Seek urgent medical care if a headache is sudden and explosive, like a thunderclap, or if it's the worst headache you've ever had. Also, take it seriously if there are neurological symptoms like weakness, confusion, fainting, trouble speaking, vision changes, or a stiff neck with fever. Persistent vomiting, signs of severe dehydration, or a headache after a head injury are also reasons to get evaluated. Another red flag is a new headache pattern that keeps returning without a clear trigger, especially if you're older or have risk factors like high blood pressure. Dehydration is common, but it shouldn't be used to explain away severe or unusual symptoms. If your headaches are frequent, it's worth discussing with a clinician to rule out migraine, sleep issues, medication effects, anemia, or blood pressure problems. Moving to slide 14. So here's the takeaway. Dehydration headaches happen because low fluid levels change circulation, shift electrolytes, increase tissue sensitivity around the brain, and push your nervous system into a more reactive state. Then lifestyle factors. Heat, exercise, caffeine, alcohol, skipped meals, poor sleep, and muscle tension can stack on top and make the pain feel bigger and last longer. The practical win is learning your early signals, like dry mouth, fatigue, darker urine, or lightheadedness, and responding before the headache fully ramps up. If you want to make this personal, try a simple experiment. For 1 week, notice when headaches appear and what your hydration and meals looked like in the hours before. One question for you: do your headaches show up more from heat and sweating, or more from long stretches of focused work and forgetting to drink? Leave your answer in the comments: heat, sweat, or desk time. If you found this useful, subscribe for more clear science-based explanations. This information is not a substitute for medicine.